Hey, what's happening? Paul Ingram here with Collie Center. Welcome back to our knife training. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at part 2 from our first part. In part 1, if you did not see it, make sure you do click right up here, so that way it'll take you over to part 1 where we focus on the forward grip or the sock grip tactics of the knife. And on this one, we're going to be taking a look at the reverse grip or the apparel grip. Now, make sure to grab a training knife and make sure you are training with a training knife. You got to train responsibly, my friends. Okay, if you do not have a good training knife, then use whatever you can find right now today. You can pick up a stick off the ground, use a spoon, it's totally fine. And then head over to trigonalgear.com, which is our new online gear store, and go get yourself an awesome Collie Center Trigonal Gear training knife. Great for training, great for sparring. These are awesome, okay? And I don't know if it'll focus in, but it's got our logo right there. How sweet is that, my friend? Pretty sweet. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, leave me a cool comment below, hit the subscribe button if you are not subscribed to the Collie Center channel yet. Hit that bell so that way you have your notifications turned on, you know the deal. And then also make sure you take a minute after this video, or if you want to do it right now, head over to collieapex.com so that way you can check out our crazy amazing deal that we have going on over at our online school, so we get access to our entire online school, everything that I put out on there, all of our courses, all of our training programs, and a lot of the stuff that we're adding every single week that is brand new in our Collie Apex Continuum training. All right, let's go ahead, roll it on over, and get to today's training in the apparel on the knife. Today is all about the apparel, or the reverse grip, right here. Now, I want to go ahead and cover the grip first. There's a couple different methods of gripping the apparel grip. All right, so let's go ahead and flip this out. I want to go and show you with the real knife. So when it comes to the apparel grip, there's two basic methods that come to mind. Number one, blade edge is on the outside. Okay, a lot of people like this one because it's all about slashing, right? Number two is blade edge on the inside. Some people don't like this one because they're like, how do you slash with it? Now, whichever way that you want to grip your knife, edge out or edge in, the most important thing that you do in the apparel grip, okay? Because now we're literally just, at this point, this is stupid to even debate, okay? But the most important thing to do is cap the knife, okay? Especially if you're using a little pocket knife like this, thumb caps the knife. That way it stays firm, the grip is secured in your hand, and when you go to thrust, there's no sliding down. Your hand won't slide down the handle and run your fingers or thumb on the blade. Okay, so this is very important right here. Very important. Kind of mimics that sock grip too, right? That saber grip on the forward grip that we worked in part 1. The thing about edge out or edge in, I don't really care how you want to hold your knife. You can hold it any way you want. If you want to negate the capping of the knife, it's your hand, it's your knife, it's your skills, it's your training. All right, so you can do it however you want. Okay, so I'm going to cover a couple things. As we discussed in part 1, the primary tactic for the knife is the thrust. Okay, it's all about the thrust. In the sock grip, we talked a lot about speed, right? Speed is the primary attribute when it comes to the knife. You gotta have speed, and you gotta be able to regulate that speed so that way you can regulate timing. In the apparel grip, you're gonna lose speed a little bit. Sock grip is faster. You're gonna lose speed, but you're gonna gain a little more power because everything is direct into the thrust, right? The thrusts are moving with gravity for the most part. Some people are like, well, thrust upwards and all that stuff. Do whatever you want. But the energy primarily goes downwards. Okay, so you are gaining some more power. We're going to talk in this video a little bit about the primary strategies with the knife as well. But right now, let's just focus on, getting down the basic tactics and the techniques. On the edge out, you do have slashes like this. When you are looking at the grip of the knife in the reverse grip, it's just more economical to be working on your thrusts. So when you're working on your thrust, because this goes downwards, when you have the edge out, you're not using the edge to cut into your thrust to bury it even deeper, but also allow you to extract the knife faster. So when the edge is in, you're cutting into the actual thrust. So you can bury it deeper, but more importantly, right, I mean, force is gonna bury it, but more importantly, you're gonna be able to recover your knife a lot more efficiently. Now, the other part of why I prefer the blade edge on the inside is we're kind of moving into strategy. I'm not talking too much about strategy at this point yet, but weapon retention. If somebody was to grab this, grab your hand, which they shouldn't, but if they were, and if your blade edge is on the outside, you have nothing to grapple your way out of it, right? Some people are like, you can hook it. And in my experience, chances are you're not gonna hook it, okay? And if that blade is on the inside, then you can cut, you can rip the knife out a lot more effectively, a lot more efficiently. There's just, in my opinion, in my experience, there's more pros to having the blade edge on the inside than there is on the outside. You can remedy this, go get a dagger, double-edged sword, or double-edged knife if you want. You can remedy that, that's fine. Some places you can carry that and some places you can't, okay? When we talk about the knife, local laws are different from location to location, okay? So you gotta do your due diligence and figure out what you can do and cannot do. Because, as you know, if we're looking at self-defense in our knife stuff, hopefully you are carrying a knife that abides by the laws, because if you do have to use it, and then you do have to go to court, you want to make sure that you are carrying a legal weapon, because it will not be looked at as a tool in the court of law. It's going to be looked at as a weapon, even if you are defending yourself. So you want to make sure that you do your due diligence and you understand that. Can you carry it? Some places you can, other places you may not be able to. Okay? I don't know your local law, so you have to do your due diligence. But anyways, that's what I prefer. Again, you want to hold it however you want to hold it, hold it. If you want to hold your knife by holding it by the blade, be my guest. I don't really care what you want to do. This is just the way that I teach it. All right, so let's take a look at some of our basic movements on the Pikal grip. Make sure that however you are holding the knife, blade edge on the inside or outside in the Pikal, the most important thing is that your thumb caps the knife. Okay, that's the most important thing, especially with these pocket knives where you don't have a guard or anything like that. That way, as you're going, you thrust or whatever, there's no chance of your hand sliding down and then running your fingers or your thumb across the edge of your knife, of your blade. All right, so this keeps it nice and secured in the grip, okay, and kind of mimics that that saber grip that we worked in part 1. All right, so a little bit more speed, a little faster on the recovery. So let's take a look at some of the basic movements on the Pikal and go into our thrusts. From here we have our 1 thrust, followed by our 2 thrust, angle 2, and then our number 3 on the Pikal. So this follows the angles of the stick, right? Because we got our angle 1 and our angle 2 on top. So we got our thrust 1, our thrust 2, and then our thrust 3 right there. Okay, so right away you're gonna notice a lot of power, right? You got a lot of downforce on the Pikal, a lot of downforce. 1, 2, 3. You could also go broken with this, so you can kind of go broken with these strikes as well. You can go fluid all the way, or you can go broken. So they're the slash movements, but with the slash movements, the energy is kind of pointing upwards, right? Because the energy goes with the way that the blade is and the way that the point is. So the energy is upwards. Now the energy is downwards, right? So you're gonna feel a lot more power. You might even feel a little bit more aggression coming into those movements. But you're just working that same exact movements, but instead of on the slash of the forward grip, it's the thrusts on the reverse grip. Same idea as how I taught it in part 1. Start off working that full range of motion first. Get some reps in of that. And then you can start to shorten that up. You need both, and you want to have the precision and the control of both. Okay? There's times that you need to go with a larger arc, and there's times that you need to go with a shorter arc. So train both, experiment with it, have fun with it, and obtain both abilities. The next tactic that we have on the Pikal is what we call the knife jab. The jab is the fastest knife attack. It's super fast, and I love it on the Pikal because it basically is a direct thrust. Pop, right there. Right? This thing is so fast, it's shooting right up the center, right on 0 degrees, pop, right there. You can hit this on the center. You can start to incorporate your triangle footwork with it and start working different angles with it. It's just really, really fast. And you can do this in the forward grip as well, but in that reverse grip, it's super powerful because it's, you know, you're using that whole bearing, that length of that blade, right? You got that whole poke, that whole thrust that's going in there. And it's so fast, it's so fast, right? Make sure that you're focusing on the recovery of it, so that way, yes, you're delivering it quickly, but you're recovering it even faster. Bop, right there. So we can work this out, just kind of pop, just pop this thing out, boom. There's a whole hand rolling thing that we can teach and all that stuff, right? If you want to go more in depth on this stuff, head over to KaliCenter.training, our online school, and check out our Kali knife fighting course. It goes way, way more in depth. I just want to make sure you have the basics, the basic gist of it, so that way you just, you know, just get out there and just start training right now. All right, so work this out. Bop, right there. Boom, bop, boom, bop, right there. Let's go and turn this over to Bob and work these movements on some different target selections. How you doing, Bob? Right there. All right, so we're gonna take a look at our thrusts first. So our basic thrust on the knife, all right, we're gonna go right back to those same targeting zones. All right, number one is going right to the eyes, temple, ear, that band that's right around the head. Super, super highly effective. Also, if this person was to wave or slip or anything, then you might, you know, catch them in the torso or something like that, right? Then you can transfer that energy because you've got a good arc, right? You got a good striking surface. You know, if I'm striking kind of down here, you know, this is good. It's very effective when you know, thrust this, you know, into someone's heart and lungs or something like that. But we want to control, you know, we want to have a little bit more control and all that. So we go right over the eyes. Boom and pop. Okay, and then obviously right here, you can thrust this in right into the forehead or right into the eyeballs, just like that, right into the bridge of the nose, bridge of the eyes. The second targets is obviously the neck and wells, okay, which is all part of the neck right here. So obviously you could thrust this right into the neck, boom, right there, or down into the wells, which is, you know, the little triangles that are made out of the trap and the collarbone and the neck right there. Okay, going right down, you know, very, very, very good targets. All right, so you can work that as well. Okay, so you want to work your different target selections here. Right there, bop, bop, boom, boom, bop, bop, and boom, right there. All right, so spend some time training on your pakal, working the different targeting groups. The band of the eyes, and the neck and wells. All right, let's take a look at the jab. Now, the primary target on the jab would be going to the hand, but as I discussed in the previous video in part 1, Bob misplaced his hands, so we can't work that with Bob today. But it would be, you know, a shot to the hands, looking to neutralize any kind of weapon or anything like that, or, you know, they're fighting up here, punching. We want to be taking their hands out, right? Taking out their tools. Otherwise, it kind of follows the same thing, right? It's a direct thrust. Number one, it's going to go right to the eyes, very fast. The jab is very fast, and as you're training it and experimenting with it, you're going to see exactly how fast it is. But you can go right to the eyes, or we go right to the neck. Now, occasionally on the knife jab, we do target the groin, but for the most part, we're going to keep them kind of high. It would be either going to the hand and then up to the eyes, or you could be going to the hand and then into the neck. So just play around with your pakal movements right here, right? You can start working on your thrust right here, bring this out, boom, pop that jab, pop the jab, come back on your thrust, boom, pop the jab right there, hit the thrust. You can also go broken on your thrust there as well, right? So you can kind of work these as all the way through motions, work your short power as well, and then pop those jabs just like that, right? Boom, boom, and then follow it up. Play around with the different gripping methods. You know, don't always take a teacher's word as gospel. You have to do the experimentations in your training. You have to play around with things. So if I say that I like capping the knife, cap the knife, you need to understand why. So train without capping the knife. Okay, do a whole bunch of that. Try different trainers and experiment with different objects and things like that. The skill with the knife isn't just with the knife. This could be any tool that is somewhat, you know, short that you can grasp and hold in your hand, and that you can maneuver and manipulate in similar or the same methods. So this could be a pen. This could be a flashlight. Right? This can be some, a wood chip that you had to pick up off the ground. This could be your cell phone. This could be, right, anything that you can use, turn that thing into a weapon to help you, up your chances of getting out of a self-defense situation. All right, so experiment with it. Okay, don't take my word or any other teacher's word as gospel. You got to do the experimentations with it, and then you got to come to your own conclusions, and you got to validate information. Okay, so work that out, boom, and have some fun with your Pakal. Again, if you don't have a bob that has targets already, if you're working with a heavy bag, if you're working with a pole, okay, bop, right there. If you're working with a tire stack or a tire that you slung on a tree or something like that, put little stickers or X's wherever that would represent where these different targets are. And then you can start working your targets. You want to develop accuracy in your martial arts skills. Accuracy is very important. The ability to hit the target. Eventually you got to be able to hit a moving target. And then you also want to make sure that you're focusing on the precision of the weapon. Make sure that you have control. Okay? Know when you have to go with a full range of motion strike, and know when you can go with a short power. It's really important that you're developing that precision, that control over your tools. Let's go and close it out about talking about some of those basic strategies with a knife, and why or when would we be working with the forward grip versus why or when would we primarily be working with the reverse grip, and what are their strategical purposes for. So the forward grip, because you have that advantage of speed, strategically the forward grip is really effective knife versus another weapon. Knife versus knife, knife versus baseball bat, stick, anything like that. Obviously you got to be able to maneuver with footwork, because if you are fighting a weapon that has superior range, like a baseball bat or a stick or something like that, you have to be able to close the distance. And that sometimes can be a very hard thing to do depending on the skill level of your opponent. But you got to have the footwork to do that. You got to get in. You got to go in. Otherwise you disengage and you get out of there, right? And that is really the best thing to do, is maneuver your terrain, have your weapon ready, and then maneuver to where you can find your exit to get out of the situation. And if you have to engage, we got to work the footwork, got to work the speed, timing, all that stuff, so we can go in. When you are training or sparring or fighting or whatever, knife versus knife, you need speed on your side. And the Pakal grip is mechanically slower than the forward grip. So to switch over like they do in the movies would be putting you strategically in a disadvantage. All right, so we want to have every advantage as possible, at least equal playing fields, but hopefully, your training gives you a little bit better chance, at least. The reverse grip strategically is best as retention, or if an empty-handed person is engaging you, or multiple empty-handed people are engaging you. And then you can go into your thrust, and you have the power of the thrusts. So all these incoming, punches and kicks and all that, right? You're destroying everything with thrusts instead of with slashes, right? Sometimes someone might get cut on the arm and they're still able to move, but once that thrust, once that tip starts burying into bones, it changes things. So you have a protection of thrusts coming in, right? And you have that counter offense of any hand coming in, you can thrust and clear it. Again, this is why we like the blade edge to be on the inside, because accuracy is difficult when people are throwing punches and you got 3 people and you got 6 hands coming at you in all different directions. So if you overshoot your thrust, your inside of your weapon is covered by the edge, so you could be cutting as well, but with the power of that thrust. And if your blade edge is on the outside, you don't have that advantage. You don't have that, that piece that's on your side. Your blade edge is now beyond, and their hands are inside. You can't just rake this back and, protect yourself if you missed or something like that, if you miss a direct thrust. So there's a backup to the backup. The other purpose of the reverse grip is, other types of weapon retention that I used to teach to law enforcement when I still do from time to time when they come to our ITC and stuff. But it's weapon retention, right? Somebody grabs you or grabs your weaponry or anything like that, then right, you have this to go ahead and clear their hands off or whatever you need to do, if the situation is really bad enough and you need to go to that. But those are just some of the basic strategies when it comes to the knife. There is the overall riding collie strategy, and then every single area of collie has their own specific strategies of what and why to use that particular method of that weaponry, of that area of collie. All right, I hope that you enjoyed today's training, and I hope that you enjoyed this kind of mini part 1, part 2 series on the knife. If you want to dive deeper into your knife training here with Collie Center, head over to colliecenter.training and check out my Collie knife fighting course. I go crazy in depth in the forms and the weapon handling skills, the mechanics, the footwork, and then, you know, close quarters, you know, close range fighting, and then bridging that out to long range, and then how to bridge back long to short, back out, a little bit of multiple opponents, basics, and all that stuff. It's a very, very in-depth course, and it's one of our top selling courses, and you'll really, really enjoy it if you haven't gotten it already yet, and you want to dive deeper in your knife stuff. You can get access to my entire online school if you go over to collieapex.com, so that way you can get that special promo code. I got the links in the description below. Make sure to head over to our online store, our gear store, over at trigonalgear.com, so that way you can pick up some training knives, great sparring knives, right? They're fantastic. I love these things. They're heavy duty, but at the same time, right, they're very durable and they're very safe to train with. And we appreciate your support here at Collie Center, so make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, leave me a comment below, share this video with your friends, your martial arts friends, and continue the discussion of the material that I presented to you here. Maybe you agree with some stuff, maybe you disagree with some stuff, and maybe your friends who also train in the martial arts or don't, maybe they agree and disagree, and you could open up that dialogue and that discussion, so when you're not physically training, you can still train up here. Train that knowledge, my friends. All right, I will catch you back here next time for some more training. I had a great time presenting this to you, and make sure to get outside and let nature be your Collie dojo, and I'll see you back here next time.